You're watching Building the Franchise with the Jacksonville Jaguars, only on MBL Network.
Welcome back for part 2 of yesterday's episode, and like I said to end the episode yesterday, we're coming into this game at 2-3. We're taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Steelers only have one loss so far on the season. That was against the Tennessee Titans from our AFC South, where they lost by just one field goal. So we knew this was going to be an extremely tough game, and it definitely had to be a game that we wanted to make sure we controlled some of the clock and tried to make sure we got the running game going early. And we pretty much did just that there at the beginning with Brenton Fisher taking a touchdown to the house from 50 yards out, which was huge for the rookie to start the game there. And one thing we did not expect to happen was Big Ben to make some big mistakes at the end of quarters. So he threw 2 interceptions in this game. Both of them were returned for pick sixes. So despite being a little bit slower defensive back than they were at wide receiver, we were able to keep up with them and make Ben try to make some moves, try to make some things happen, where he made those two huge mistakes for the Steelers that led to the 14 points for us. But if you've ever watched a Pittsburgh Steelers game at any point on MBL Live, they're not done until the final whistle. So we go up here at the end of the third quarter, 35-21, 14-point lead with 1 quarter left. And Big Ben takes control of the fourth quarter completely, throwing for a total of 439 yards in the game, setting their team up for the tying field goal, but they missed it wide right, and we went on to beat the Steelers 38-35. So we go into this Week 8 matchup against the Indianapolis Colts at 3-3, 500 on the season. And just to touch on a little bit, we talked about last episode the quarterback Wooden that we traded for from the Bengals. He in this game was 16 of 20 for 262 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Basically, he's not necessarily Daniel Shirley with the ability to make big plays and have some big games, but he's more of a game manager, and we have to use Leonard Fournette a little bit more because he does make some mistakes, as you see the ball knocked out of his hands here and recovered by the defense. He's not necessarily, like I said, he's not a huge game-changing quarterback, but he's somebody who we can kind of just make things work for the most part and use our running game a little bit more to try to keep and minimize him from making mistakes. But so far, he has been well worth the 4th-round pick that we traded for him. And this game, it came down to a field goal as well. It came down to a final 9 seconds left in the game. We had to kick a 56-yard field goal to take the lead. So we ended up taking the lead 27-25 with just a few seconds left. And Dobbs tried the Hail Mary at the end of the game, but doesn't even make it to the end zone as it's intercepted, and we seal the win against the Colts, moving on to 4-3 on the season. But we talked a little bit at the end of the season 28, the episode at the end of season 28. We talked about Leonard Fournette and how his rookie contract was ending after this season, season 29. Well, through just 8 weeks of the season, he has not been injured, which is a change for Leonard Fournette, as you've seen in the past episodes. He has 94 carries for 512 yards, averaging over 5 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns, and the big thing, 16 broken tackles. He's no longer going down just on the first hit, which is huge for us with our young offensive line that we discussed last episode. So he's definitely making a case for an extended contract, and that's something we're going to have to watch in the next little bit here. But in Week 9, we go into Houston. We take on the Texans. We ended up blocking a punt, which we discussed in that last episode on how that was something we were looking to do a little bit more this season. We blocked a punt, which kind of was a game changer. We weren't really able to move the ball before that, and after that, we just completely took over. We kind of had them shook on kicks. They missed the kick that you see right here, and we were able to keep a strong running game going and some smart decisions by Wooden. Wooden finished the game 9 of 11 for 164 yards and 1 touchdown, no interceptions. And Leonard Fournette, 12 attempts, 136 yards, 1 touchdown, and 5 broken tackles, like the one you've seen right here where he just runs people over. So despite having a quarterback who does not really know the system yet and is kind of just managing the game, a running back who is generally injured but is having a great season, and an offensive line that is just absolutely young and inexperienced, we're right now sitting at 5-3 on the season. And we have the Chicago Bears coming into Jacksonville. They come into this game not really having a great season. They're turning the ball over a lot, and they're not able to get much of a running game going outside of the red zone. So we didn't necessarily expect this to be an easy game, but we did think that this was a game we could win. And we come into this game, we decided to run heavy with Leonard Fournette, and we gave him 16 attempts. He got 112 yards, 1 more touchdown, and 7 more broken tackles as we move on and beat the Chicago Bears 17-10, improving to 6-3 on the season as we get ready to take on the Colts for the 2nd time this season. So if you'll remember from just a second ago, I said that Wooden was doing well, he was managing the game, and that we were running more with Leonard Fournette. And that's exactly how we started this game. Leonard Fournette, 2 carries for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, as you see right here. After that, though, this game completely went downhill. they started stopping the run, and we had to put the ball more into the young quarterback's hands. And Wooden did have his worst game so far as a Jaguar, completing only 7 of his 19 attempts, throwing 3 interceptions. And despite such a poor performance, though, the game was a little closer than we thought it was going to end up at halftime. We ended up losing the game to the Colts, 24-14, and we're now 6-4 on the season, getting ready to take on the Detroit Lions. And after the game against the Colts, we also dropped down to second in the division. The Titans took the lead back. And we're going against these Detroit Lions, who you should know from watching their BTF series that they don't have Matthew Stafford. They have Brad Kaya. So this is a game that we should be able to at least be competitive in. And Wooded did have a pretty nice bounce-back game, a lot of which came from 2 kind of jump balls to Allen Robinson. He finished 16 of 20 for 242 yards, 2 touchdowns. And this fumble right here by Sanders at the end is what sealed the loss for us as we tried to make a comeback against an extremely tough Detroit Lions team. So as I said, now we're sitting at 6-5 on the season. We did, however, go ahead and re-sign Leonard Fournette. We re-signed him to a 5-year, $32.1 million extension. He did get hurt in the game against the Detroit Lions at the beginning of the game, but it only knocked him out for that one game. And so far in this season, he has 142 attempts for 891 yards, which is way more than any season he's had so far. He has 7 touchdowns and 30 broken tackles. So we definitely wanted to keep him around, and for just $32 million over 5 years, we couldn't really let that go. We couldn't let him go to another team. So the question marks surrounding Leonard Fournette and the Jacksonville Jaguars are over in the MBL. He is not going anywhere. He's staying in Jacksonville. And just a real quick look, a couple things we're going to look at here. The AFC standings, we are currently the sixth seed as we get a little bit closer to the playoffs here, sitting at 6-5. There's a lot of teams in the AFC that are 6-5, 7-4, right around that range. So the final stretch of this MBL season 29 is definitely going to be something that you're going to want to tune in for. There's going to be a lot of big games throughout the entire MBL, not just in Jacksonville. And just a little bit more close to home here, we have the AFC South. The Tennessee Titans are at 7-4. We're 1 game back at 6-5, and then you have the Colts at 4-7, and the new ownership in the Texans at 3-8. So we do still have both of our games against the Titans. They have an easier schedule to end the season, but we do still play them twice. And both of those games are going to be huge matchups that we're going to need wins, most likely, to be able to secure the AFC South and take the title from Sonny. So as I said, we do have some big matchups coming up to end the season. The last few weeks of the season here are going to be crucial for the team in our hopes to take the title from Sonny Weaver for the AFC South. We do have the Oakland Raiders in Week 13. They're sitting at 8-3 right now. It's going to be a big matchup. The Tennessee Titans in Week 14 and 17, and the Week 17 one very well may be the deciding game. Right now, I believe Week 14 is going to be an NBL Live matchup against the Titans there, so stay tuned for that. We also have the Texans in Week 15 and the 6-4 Baltimore Ravens in Week 16. So we have a little bit of a tough stretch there at the end besides the Texans game. But even that one's not necessarily an easy win because we also lost to the Colts our second time in a game we should have won. So stay tuned for that stuff and make sure you're tuning into these last couple episodes for this NBL season number 29. And we'll see how the season ends and see if we can take the AFC South from the Titans.